And a good afternoon to you. It's Sunday, July 8th, 2018. This is the Central Florida Computer Society and the Central Florida Computer Society Windows Special Interest Group, otherwise known as the WinSIG. I'm Hewie Poplock, and I'm your host and talker for about the next hour. We've got several people online. We have several people in the audience. And I'm going to talk about mostly things about Windows and maybe a few other items. We'll take some questions, but I do have a schedule set up, so let's take a look at that. And let's see, I didn't close it. We want to hear. Okay, I use the my website, Hewie's Views and Reviews, as my host and storage for the WinSIG. As you can see, there are WinSIG meeting notes going back to about 10 years now, over 10 years, to 2008. And under the 2018, under today's meeting notes for the 18 for July. And these are the notes. Later on, either tonight, tomorrow, or the next couple of days, a copy of the recording will also be on this page, and you'll be able to view or listen to this same meeting. So please note that, and you can go back and watch meetings from many months prior to this, since we've been doing the recordings. Today I want to talk a little bit about finding files fast. I have a lot of files. I have two hard drives. I got a C drive and a D drive, and let's kind of bring that up. This is my computer. I have a local C drive, which is a 240 gigabyte SSD card, and 1 terabyte hard drive. And that makes up my desktop computer. It's a NUC NUC. It hangs on the back of my touchscreen monitor. And I have a lot of files in it. In fact, I had so many files on the C drive that I filled it up. And when I tried to remove enough of the items, I had to make some changes in the partitions. And when I did that, when I did try to do the latest update, it wouldn't work. And I don't know whether it was because of that or just the fact that it just needed to be cleaned enough that I ended up doing a clean install by going to the Microsoft Store, bringing my computer in, and they restored my computer to the latest update, but basically factory fresh. But my D drive was intact, which had all my data. And I had moved all of my my documents and my videos and my downloads and so on to the D drive anyway to try to free up that C drive. So it wasn't a big deal to get going, except to reinstall most of my programs. But this is where we stand today, and now we're live. And that's what I have. I've got 141 gigabytes free now on the C drive, where I was down to about 3 gigabytes free before I did the restore or the reinstall of the operating system. And I freed up quite a bit of my D drive, and I still can go back in and clean some more up. Anyway, but when I want to go look for a file, that's a lot of files. And so I know I used to use the Windows search over the years, and let's go take a look at how you would do that. It used to be that you could type in here and say, let's say I'm going to look for something that's CFCS, the Central Florida Computer Society. When I type that in, you will see that I've got some documents and videos with a 5+ and so on. And when I go to find the results in documents, it gives me some, but certainly not all that I have on my drive. And I really don't see a place where I can find more. I can search in File Explorer, so we'll try that. And I can do this manually. What you do is you just go to your hard drive and you type in this box here. Wish I could make this bigger for you, and I don't believe there is a way to do that, but it says CFCS in here. And it's doing a search. And it's searching my entire system, all subfolders. And we're not seeing anything show up yet. And this can take quite a while. Well, I've done this already and wrote an article about what I'm showing you. That article is, well, I'm going to leave that working. And I'm going to go out to the article, which is, let's go back to the main page. And it's called Find Files Fast. When I click on that, the article is here. And then I have some screen captures. And what I want to do is show you, this is what we saw. By the way, when you click on the picture, it does open up a larger version of it. That's what we saw first. And then we come back over here, and then we'll look at the second one, which is what we're seeing now, and it looks like this. And as I said, that was the Cortana. And then when we I don't have the screens for the, I thought I did include those. I probably ought to add, oh yeah, it is here, and it's here. And this is what I found, and that was it. That's all it showed. Let's see where we're at. It's not even finding those. So the Windows, using the Windows Explorer, it may need to be re-indexed, which takes days on my computer, and it may or may not help me. So it's not really a good choice to, I'm going to go ahead and end it. It's not really a good choice. We can always go back to the days of DOS and type in command and get to the DOS prompt. And we're going to go to the C drive. You have to do each drive separately, C, and then CD / get you to the root. Now, there is in the article, excuse me, in the article, I have another picture here that tells you do a dir space and then whatever your search / then whatever your search term is, a backward / then the search term, and with an asterisk if you want as a wildcard, and then a space and then /s. So that's what we want to do. Let me just close out some of these here. Just so when we come back, it will be clean. So what we need to do is dir space / then we're going to put CFCS asterisk space / S, which is a switch, and then press enter, and it will start looking on the C drive for anything that says CFCS. It does take a while. And as it goes through, you can see there's files on there from 2011, 1999, 2014. And it found 63 files, or about 1 gigabyte of files. And that's it. D, of course, would be more files and take longer. But as you can see, as I scroll back up, I can't do anything with these. I could copy these. I could have told it to do using another / to PRN to print out a list. Excuse me, but there's no link, so I couldn't do anything with them. So this is, even though it's an old way of finding all of your files, it still isn't good. And it also gives you every folder, and then what's in that folder. It's a lot more information that we really want. We can't really do much with it. I belong, besides Central Florida Computer Society, I also belong to the Sarasota Computer Technology User Group, which is called STUG. And they have a refurbish group where they refurbish computers. And I believe it was Mike, the leader of the refurbish group, told me about a program called Search My Files. May have been somebody else in that group, but that's what I'm quite sure it was Mike that told me. Hang on, I don't want to clear my throat here. Okay, Search My Files. So I ran Search My Files, and as you can see here, it gives a box, and then it gives some options. And I've told it here, I want the D drive and I want the C drive. And then I can exclude certain folders, because it takes longer. I'm going to change the file's wildcard, and I'm just going to say CFCS and then asterisk for wildcard. So it'll do everything. I wanted to do the subfolders wildcard, and so there's other things that you can change here, but I'm just going to leave everything the way it is, and I'm just going to say go ahead and start the search. As you see, it is searching, and you can see how many files, and it continues to add to the list, and it takes a while. I believe it was a couple of minutes when I timed it, and I do have it in the article how long it took. I'd have to go back into the article, but we'll just let it go ahead and do the test. It's searching both C and D, and it's finding all of the instances, and I can move this out of the way. You can see that it finds the file name, the folder, what the size of the file is, when it was last modified, when it was created, when it was last accessed, if the entry was modified, and then some attributes, if it's been backed up or not. And as you'll see right now, it's up to about 643 files. It's searching. I got a bunch of graphics out there, and I should put those in the excluded folders for it to cut down. I've left that open because sometimes those are what I'm looking for. But while it's still doing that, we can take a look at what we've got. But you can see that I have, all of these have CFCS in the title somewheres. But you'll see that they all start with CFCS. So I probably should have done an asterisk CFCS asterisk. And that would find CFCS anywhere in the title. We would have found more answers or more places. And we'll see that when we look at some of the other programs that I'm going to do. So it's still working, but I can click on one of these, and let's go ahead, and it gives me information on it, but it doesn't actually open it. Let's see if I do it from here. No, it's still not opening the file itself, but it may be because it's still working. I don't recall. Let's let it finish. But I found since I've been using this for several, probably a year now, and I read an article not too long ago that talked about a program called Everything. I marked it as Search Everything, but the actual program is Everything, and there's a link to all three of these in the article that's on my website. But let it finish. Shouldn't take long now, but you see it takes a while to go through all of those, but it's still going through everything. So I know that it's going to find all of the files that start with CFCS, and now it's done. Now if I click on, let's find a JPEG, because that should come up quickly. That was for a ballot in 2010. Let's bring it up. No, that doesn't open it. That doesn't open it. So I can't open the file from this program. There might be a choice here. Open with, yeah, let's try that. Open with And since it's a JPEG, we'll open it with Irfan view, and I'll say OK. So it did open it. So there is, I was running for VP that year, 2010. And as you can see that it does open the file by, in fact, I don't have it associated to open it with Irfan view by default. It had to ask me how to do it. So you can open it from this, but it's a little bit harder than the other programs that I'm going to show you. The other two programs was I found Search Everything, or Everything, and I called it Search Everything. This automatically went out and found, it does it one time, it goes out and it finds everything that's on both drives. And so all I have to do is type in CFCS and bingo, it's there. There's 688 objects that have CFCS in it anywheres. And again, we can open any of these. I'm not sure let's open that. Okay, access. That's a problem of mine on the computer, not a problem with the program. That has to do with, I do still have a few files that just don't automatically open with the program. So, well, let's take, I like JPEGs, but I don't have it by default. So let's just open a bus line from 2013, just our newsletter, bingo, and there it is. So I can open the file, I can find it, and I can open it very quickly right from this program. And you saw how quick that was. It was almost immediately. So we'll go ahead and close. That's Everything. And then I was reading an article about Everything, and they also mentioned another program called WinSIG. So I tried it, and it does a complete scan the first time you open it for the day, which takes a few seconds. As you can see, it's up to 65% already, if you can read that. And it's at 90 and 100%. It's done. So if I type in CFCS, oops, I got to click in the box. Bingo, it's there. And there's all the instances, and it found 1,227 files because it found CFCS wherever it is. It doesn't have to be in the first. It doesn't have to be the first letter, as long as CFCS is in the title or in the title of the file. It finds it, and let's see what this is. I have no idea. Well, click it, and I open it. It's an old. It's from a meeting going back. Many years ago, but just by clicking on anything here, I can open it. That was one of our meetings when we met at the New Horizons, and that was our meeting back then. You may recognize a few faces, some of you in the audience. Some have moved away, some have left us, but anyway. So I really like this Wiz file. I still like Everything. Search My Files will probably stay on my computer, but I won't use it as much as I'll use either Search Everything or Wiz file. So I thought there were three good programs that any one of them, especially of the two, that you should be using to find anything on your computer. So if I wanted to find a logo that I have, and it's got HCP. And let's see if I tire the word logo too and see what I get. No, I want just HCP. And it brings up my logo. No, that's just I know it's here somewhere. Okay. I thought I was going to be able to do this real quick. No, but no, I'm not finding the file that I was looking for, but it's in here. I don't want to spend your time finding something that it's just as an example. But as you can tell, I can find anything that's got HCP, and DHCP comes up quite often because that's a part of Windows and the web.
We have a question and a comment.
Sure.
Ted Goodwin wants to know if one could search for a date.
Yeah, your wife might object. But I am not sure. Let's see what this audio. It's the type of file. No, boy. You know what you can do though? You can search for the word, or you can just do an asterisk. One asterisk is whoops. It's not 8. It's asterisk. It's Shift 8. There's everything that's on the drive, and then you can, like anything else, you can tell it, do it, okay, by size or modified. So we want it when it was last modified. So you can put it in date order. I got files going back to 1970, 79. Some of those are program files and so on. So that's why there are those dates. But obviously you can search and then just go to the date that you're looking for. So yeah, it's not designed to do that, but you can do that. And was there any other question?
Well, I have a comment. I was not going to mention it, but I thought, well, I can't let it go by. Total Commander has a search built into it that I think is equally as powerful. It does let you go to the file, open it. You can use all the wildcards and that sort of thing. But I must admit that the Wiz file did look maybe faster. And I saw that that's antibody-software.com for the website.
Yeah, I believe it is, and then we can go to the article and.
Right, that'll be in your notes, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is. There's links in the article. Yeah, antibody-software.com, and there's a link there, and there's a link for everything, and there's a link for search my files.
Okay. Very good. I'm going to mute now. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? All right, feel free to let me know when you do. Okay, I'm muting.
Okay, I'm just looking at the, some people have jotted down some notes, let's see, that are online. I don't recall search my files, but that doesn't happen much these days. And take ownership of will fix not being able to open certain files or folders. Mike mentioned, yeah, and I had to do that with several groups. And that's why some of the things didn't open. I don't have ownership of them because of the update that I did. It severed the connection, and it's just something I have to fix. It's not a big deal. Okay, so that's that article and part 1 of what I wanted to go over today. Let's go back to the meeting notes. So by clicking Find Files Fast, you'll find it as soon as you go to Hewie.net. That article is the first one that's there, but later on, if it's not and you can't find it, you can go into today's notes and it's there. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, we don't talk about it enough to our newer users, and that is what's a file extension and why is it important? Let me make this larger. This is an article called "What's a File Extension?" And for those of you who don't know, there are usually two. It comes after the period in the file name, and it's either 2 or 3 characters long. Sometimes it's a .jpg, it's a .pdf, and so on. And Microsoft, in its infinite wisdom, turns the ability to read your extensions off by default. It says you don't need to know that. Well, you really do in some ways. File extensions are used by the operating system to identify what apps are associated with what types, in other words, what apps open when you double click the file. For example, a file named awesome underscore picture .jpeg has JPG as a file extension. When you open that file in Windows, for example, the operating system looks for what app is associated with JPG files and opens that app and loads the file. If there's nothing associated with it, it'll ask you, what do you want us to open it with? But when you look at the Windows Explorer, and let's just go in and look at a folder. Notice, well, I'm going to get off topic if I do this right now, and I'll come back to that. Let's go into Documents, and let's go into the Windows SIG Virtual, which is what we're in, and by date, and I'm going to go down to today's. Notice I have extensions at the end of each of these, and notice here, when I click on the cover, it opens it. And that's because JPG is associated with the program IrfanView that opens it by default. However, sometimes you have to set those. And like this one, when I open this, it's a text file. If I double click it, it opens up my notepad and has some information in there that I put in. And it's text, so it opens it up in Notepad, which is what my default program is. Now, if I had one that did not have a default, it would come up and ask me, what do I want to open it with? Or let's take that cover again, and let's right mouse click, and you can go to Open With, and notice that because it has a JPEG as the extension, it knows that any of these programs will open up a JPEG file. And it says choose another app. If I click another app, this is what you would get if it didn't have anything. And we say, what do you want to open it with? Do you want IrfanView 64-bit? Do you want Paint 3D? Or you can actually then go to more apps, and it'll say, okay, what apps do you have, or do you want to look for one in the App Store? But let's say I wanted to automatically open a JPEG in Photos. If I just want to do it one time, I just click on that. If I always want to use this, in other words, change the default app, you'll notice what the icon is here for the JPEG. If I say always use this app, it's going to change the default. When I do that, I say okay. It opened it. It opened it in the program that I have. So now when I close that and come back here, it should have the Paint, and it doesn't. So let's try a different one. It's supposed to change the little icon too. Let's see if it does. I should have done that by Photos. So when I open it up in Photos, so it did. So what happened was here, let's do that again. Open With, choose another app. Okay, and I want to always open this, and I want to click on Photos. And I say okay. Okay, that time it opened up in Photos. And if we come back, notice that the icon has changed, and that's indicating that my JPEG file is now the default program to open up JPEGs is Photos and not Irfan View. And so you can change the default program for whatever you want, and that's associated with the extension. So the extensions are very important. Some different types of extensions are .doc or .docx, depending upon which version of Word you're using. XLS or XLSX, again, for which version of Excel you're using. PNG is a different graphics program format. HTM or HTML, if it knows it has that, if it has that extension, it knows it's a hypertext markup language, and will generally open it up in your browser if that's what you have as the default. PDF is a portable document format by Adobe. EXE is an executable file. What if you don't see extensions on your files? Well, then you have to, because Microsoft left them off. And what you have to do is go to the folder options, and you can do that in when you open up you've got a folder here, you go to folder options, go to view, home, and history, select all. I got to remember where this is now. Manage. No. View. When in version 10, it's now right here, and you can say file name extensions. If you turn that off, they go away. So if they aren't there, just click that box. That's under Manage in your Windows File Manager, and turn them on. Because you could have the same file name as a JPEG, as a PNG, as several items, and you really want to know what it is. So you can turn that off, turn that off or on. And this is the old way to do it within Control Panel. And you want to show all file extensions if this is, I believe, on a Mac. Okay, and what if I change the file extension? What if you can't just change a JPEG to a PNG by changing the extension. You have to use a program to convert it. And so if you just change the extension, it's going to say, okay, now that's a text file. So when I open it, it's not going to, or as a PNG, it's going to say, wait a minute, that's not a PNG. It's either going to give you gobbledygook, or it's going to say, I can't open the file. It doesn't have the right header. And so don't change them. Always, you can change the file name, but don't change the extension, or don't leave it off when you change the file name. And then how do you change a program that opens the file? And I did show you that. And so the extensions are very important. And when you look at a listing, and let's go back again to here, let's go ahead and look at documents, and just quickly just go down. And we're not worried, that's a zip file, so it's got like a zipper on the folder. But you can see that I have there's different icons here depending upon what the items are. If it doesn't know what it is, it gives just a picture because it's a .dat. I don't have anything associated with that. So some files may or may not have an icon associated with it. It'll just have kind of a generic icon, but it should show the icon. And then over here, it's going to say what kind of file it is based on the letter. Unless you have a file associated with it, then it's going to say it is an Irfan View PNG file. It's a JPEG file, because remember I changed that to Paint. or an Adobe PDF document. So the type that's here may be different on somebody else's computer when you're comparing and talking to somebody or helping them or they're helping you. It may have a difference in the type because of the file associated with it. So the extensions are very important in that way. Any questions on that? I don't see any notes from the audience online, and I don't hear anything from CFCS, so that's fine. We'll go on to the next item. How we doing time-wise? Okay. I may skip over some of these because I either don't deal with them, they aren't things that I just want you to be aware that they're a problem, and that if you are having a problem with them, where you can find an answer to it. Problem Windows 10 won't download. It gives you some choices of what you might do and how you can download. So if you haven't updated to Windows 10 or you haven't updated to the latest version of Windows 10, there are some ways in which you can force it or download it and install it. And same thing with automatic updates. It tells you what you can do to make those happen. Windows 10 shares your Wi-Fi with contacts. I've not experienced this. I've not worked with this. I was reading the article about it, and apparently there are some ways in which you can share your Wi-Fi with contacts, and I'm not sure why or how you would do that, but you can turn it on, turn it off. If your Bluetooth isn't working, it gives you some suggestions on settings and device. Go to settings and devices, possibly install a new driver, reinstall it, or delete the one that's there, and it automatically will put the default back in for you. If Cortana isn't working, it gives you some ways in which you can make it work. You can turn it on, turn it off. And one of the things you can do with Cortana is, let's go here, and I'm going to right mouse click that. And actually what I want to do is come down here. I right mouse click on the taskbar and go to Cortana. You can make it hidden. You can show a Cortana icon, or you can show the search box. If I just show the icon, there's just a little icon down here. So you don't need to have, if you're not using that box ever, you can just have it there and then click on this, and then your search box will open up. So if it's not there, that's what it looks like. So when you click the start bar, it will go to that, but if you need the search, it's there. So going back again to here, we're going to go to Cortana, and we can make it hidden totally, or I'm going to show the search box, and it shows up back down here again. So you've got a lot of control that you can do from that taskbar by right mouse clicking on your taskbar, and you can turn things on and off. Besides Cortana, you can show the task view button, which is what I have here. If I shut that off, it goes away. I right mouse click, show it again, and that's this button right here. It comes and goes by turning it on and off by right mouse clicking on the taskbar. You can show people on the taskbar, show Windows Ink workspace button if you want it. I have the touch keyboard because I do have a touch screen, and once in a while, if something happens to my keyboard, all I have to do is click that, touch that on the screen, and it'll bring the keyboard up. I'm going to do that. I'm not hitting any keys. I'm touching the screen, but you can't see my finger when I do that. But when I do that, I get a touch screen. So I can actually then type on the screen, in other words, that way, and then I can make it go away just by hitting the X. So that can be controlled from this. You can have your windows cascade. You can show windows stacked. So right now I've got several windows open, or a few windows open. I can cascade them. I can show them stacked. I can do them side by side, or I can show the desktop. And when I show the desktop, it minimizes everything. It's on the desktop. I can open up Task Manager, and I'm going to come to Task Manager in one of these other items that I'm going to talk about in just a few moments. So, and the next item on up is a problem if Windows Store can't open or download apps. What to do? If your Wi-Fi is unstable, slow, or won't connect, there's some fixes of what you might do by going in, and it actually tells you go into settings, network, internet, and Wi-Fi. This computer I have wired, so I don't have Wi-Fi turned on. You don't see Wi-Fi down here, and the reason why is I don't have it turned on, or I'm not using it. But I do have it set that if my connection, my wired connection goes away, it automatically will turn on the Wi-Fi. OneDrive placeholders, if they're gone, what to do. I'm not going to get into what OneDrive placeholders are because that could be an entire session with you. So I will skip that today. And if you can't play DVDs in Windows 10, what you can do, files are opening in different apps. This goes back to what we were talking about on opening and changing the default app for a particular program. Tells you how to do that. And if startup times are slow, you can turn on and off things that start up. It's a little bit different than past versions of Windows, but it's a lot easier. Again, I'm going to go to the taskbar. I'm going to right mouse click and go to Task Manager. Those of you who are familiar with Task Manager may remember it looking something similar to this, and it shows you everything that's happening in your processes, but you also have performance, app history, but you also now have your tab for startup here. Here is everything that starts up on my computer, and it shows whether it's enabled or if it's disabled. Now, let's say there was something on here that I did not want to open when Windows starts. Let's say I didn't want Snagit to open. I just click that and tell it to disable it. When I did, it will change it. And now when I close and then restart my computer, Snagit will not automatically load and start. Sometimes that causes a problem, and I discovered what the problem was by disabling it, and the error message went away. So then I was able to uninstall it and reinstall it, and the message went away completely. But I'm going to tell that to enable it. So you can shut it off for a while and turn it back on, just to try to see what's causing an error message coming up when you boot. You could disable everything, and then enable them one at a time and reboot each time to see where your actual error message is coming from or what's causing it. Or what's causing it to delay. Sorry, I muted myself. I was coughing. Okay, so I did want to show you that, and I had mentioned I was going to cover it later. And that's how you can adjust your startup and startup times. So if there are things that are starting that you didn't want, that's one way to turn them off. And then usually within the program, there is a choice. Do you want it to start when Windows starts or not? Turn that feature off, and then it won't even show up in that list. Okay, and then some webcam issues and so on. So let's go ahead and close that. And we covered that. So how to fix all of Windows annoyances. These are some other issues. How to get rid of Candy Crush. Throw out manufacturer's bloatware. If you get a brand new machine, what you probably want to do is go ahead and do a fresh start tool and install. Before you install any new programs, go ahead and flush out what's already installed and just install what you want. Because a lot of times when you buy a new computer, the computer company has been paid some money to install software for you to use either as a test for a while, or it will be a reduced version of it, like a light version, and then they'll annoy you to go to the full version, or it will expire and annoy you to go to a full version. Okay, how to search, how to hide the search, we talked about that. So that's covered in this article. How to Google and Chrome instead of Bing and Edge. So how to change your defaults for your search engine and for your browser. And also stop Windows from wasting your upload bandwidth. Some delivery options. Add colors to the title bars and so on. And you get to a lot of these things from your settings, and then go to personalization. And let's say your start, your colors. I've got the background set to a color so it's not too confusing for you. When you see my desktop, there's not a picture there to make it hard to see the icons. You can change the fonts in the taskbar is what they're talking. You've got some things on your taskbar that you can change. You can lock the taskbar, automatically hide the taskbar in desktop mode. So while I've got it here and you see it, if I turn that on, I'm in desktop mode, so it should go away and then bring it back. Well, because I'm in settings, I guess. Turn it off. Automatically hide the taskbar in tablet mode. And when I did it earlier, I wasn't connected. Maybe it's because we're in the program. I know we're not in desktop mode. We're actually in a program. But when I was in desktop mode, it would go away. And then if I brought my mouse all the way down, it brings it back up. You can use small, and that makes them very small. So if you got a lot of them, you might want it small. You can turn it bigger. And you can have badges if you want. Those are the numbers. You can change the location to bottom side. If I change it to the right, it moves it over to the right. I can change it back to the bottom. And you can also do that by dragging it and putting over here on the right, and then dragging it back to the bottom. Combine taskbar buttons, always hide. You can hide the label. Okay, hide the labels. There is a choice there. When the taskbar is full, do it. So the taskbar isn't full, so it actually puts in some labels. I don't need the labels, and I think it makes it more cumbersome. I just always hide them. And you can customize the taskbar and so on. I don't like to do too much that's not generic. So when I do these presentations, it looks like what yours does if you haven't played around with it. How many contacts to show contacts on the taskbar, and then how many to show. So there's some things that you can change there. You want to go through the different settings, and don't do them all. Try to do them all at once, but do. Let's say you're doing the personalization. You might want to look at some of these or all of these, and then go away from it, and then come back and then do another of the main topics in your settings, because there's so many, but there's so much that you can do to make it change. You also might want to have a piece of paper and a pen nearby when you do these. So if you make a change, write down what the change was. You can go back and unchange it if you don't like it, because it may not be as simple as just reversing something you did. You may have to go back and find where you did it. And so if you write it down as you're making the changes, it's a good idea. Okay, let's come back to the article. Disable the sticky keys shortcut. I don't know if you're aware of it, but there is something called sticky keys. And you can turn that on and off by pressing the shift key 5 times. This has to do with, excuse me, when you're gaming, you're hitting the same key over and over again to shoot somebody or to protect yourself or to move or something. And so if you're doing a lot of that, you might want to turn this feature off. But if I hit the shift key 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I get that same item, and I can say, okay, I want to disable it or not, or just leave it alone by closing it. So the sticky keys let you use the Shift, Control, Alt, or Windows keys by pressing one key at a time. The keyboard shortcut to turn on the sticky keys is to press the Shift key 5 times. I bet you didn't know that. You can skip the lock screen, and there's a way of turning that on and off. However, in Windows 10 now, you basically have to do it by going into the registry. And it,
Huey,
yes.
I heard some noises on that previous one in terms of turning the shift, control, whatever, locking those. I didn't know you could do it, and I don't understand what it does. Could you demonstrate that, please? Sticky keys, never heard of it.
Well, the sticky key shortcut has been annoying Windows users for decades. It pops up and asks you if you want to enable it if you press the Shift key 5 times. And it's very easy to accidentally do it, so it's a Shift key.
What does it do if you do activate it? Why would you want to?
It is activated by default, so I'm not sure what it does. Let's see if I'm going to press the letter F 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just keep doing it. Nothing happens, but for whatever reason, in gaming, you don't want to do that. You don't want to have that happen. So I don't know the answer to that, Stan.
All right, I'll noodle around with it, I guess. I'm curious. It doesn't mean that you get caps locked just by pressing the Shift key 5 times. I don't know. I've just never seen it.
Note if you use, let's see, to stop this from happening, but it doesn't say why you would use it. I have no idea. Okay. It's a good question. I'm just reading the article, and I just noticed when I tap the Shift key 5 times, that notice comes up. So you can silence notifications. How to make Windows show file extensions? We've already done that. Silence notifications. On any device, notifications can be helpful. If you get notifications over here, your notifications, you can turn these on and off, and what programs give you notifications. That little box down in the corner is where the notifications are. And you also have some switches that you can turn on and off from that box as well. But if you want to control what programs are in that notification box, you can do that. Startup programs can easily get annoying. To prevent programs from launching at boot, oh, that's it. I'm sorry, I skipped to the next one. They make your PC last longer, so you want to go into startup and turn on and off which programs do notifications. And let's see what else. And then there's some diagnostics and feedback. And you can send less information to Microsoft and so on. Okay, are we getting to the time where I need to quit, or do I have a few more minutes?
A few more minutes.
Okay, good. I did want to talk about resizing images and photos in Windows. This is an article that tells me how to do it. But if you need to make a smaller version of a picture, and there are several reasons why you might, and you can do it within Windows, but maybe you need to upload a smaller version of a photograph to Facebook, although they do it automatically. But if you want to email a picture to somebody, it may be too big for your email program, for instance. A quick note on resizing images. The quality can be different from one program to another. And you certainly don't want to make a picture. You can't make a picture. You can, but you don't want to make a picture bigger from a small picture because it pixelates it. It really doesn't do it well. But if you're working with a screenshot or a very large picture, there are several ways in which you can reduce the picture. They say to use Paint. Of course, Paint is gone now, and you have Paint 3D. And you can change the size. And so the article is really behind, but let's take a picture. And I've got a picture out here. Let's just go ahead and come way over here in the corner, minimize everything. And let's open up, let's open this picture up. Okay, here's a picture of our dog at Halloween time. By holding my mouse over the picture, the icon, let me minimize it for a second here, and hold my mouse over it. No, I want to go to properties. It's 2.81 megabytes is the size of the file. It should show the details. Yeah, it's 3,264 by 2,448 pixels. So it's 7 megapixels. And so it's a fairly large picture. And we're open in Paint, which is because I changed the default and I want it to be in or not Paint, but Photos. And I want, remember, I changed that, and I really do want to open it with I changed the JPEG, and let's take any JPEG here. I have no idea what that is. So we're going to say open with, and we're going to choose another app, and we're going to tell it we want Irfan view, and we want to always use Irfan view. I have no idea what this picture is going to open up to. All right, it's an eagle nest in the tower next to us, but hopefully now if I close that, and now I double click on this and I open it, it is now opening it up in Irfan view. So you'll see that it's 100%, so we really need to reduce that. We're just going to say make it fit the image to the window. So it didn't reduce the size of the picture, it only reduced the way it looks on the screen. So if we want to reduce the size of the photograph, we can go to Image and Resize and Sample, which is Control-R will also do it. And I can change it here. And I've got it set to make it by pixels is what we have it. And I also want to do it and make it so it keeps it in the same ratio. So if we change this to 300, notice it changes the height automatically to make it in proportion to that. And we say OK. It then makes a smaller version, and if we say it, and that's at 100%. So it went from that huge picture to now that. And if I say save as, and we're going to put it on the desktop, and we're going to call it smaller pic, and save it to the desktop. And we just did. And there it is here. We'll bring it down here. And now we're going to look at the properties of it. It is now 40K. It went from 7 megabytes to 40K. And as we said, it is now 300 by 225. And it's open, so when we double click it, it's there. That's what it looks like. And that's the actual size of the picture at 100% now, where the original at 100% looks like this. So obviously there's a big difference, a big savings of space, and much easier to email. But let's say we even want to get it smaller. Let's say we want it to be just a little thumbnail, an icon. A lot of programs have a problem with that. So what I have found, I've been using for years a program called Quick Image Resizer, and it looks like this. I've used it for years. I got it for settings. That comes, you can change any picture to extra large, large, and so on. And when you do that under large, it's going to change it to 1024 by 768, and so on. And their thumbnail, they said at 160 by 120, but I'm going to say I want it. I want to even go smaller. I want to go to a 50 by 38 pixel. And that's going to be a really small picture. But if I take that original and I just drop it in here, it is now made at 50 by 38. It's 1K, and you can still see the picture. I'm not sure how well it is on your screen, but it would be on your screen up close. It would make a nice thumbnail next to something at only 50 pixels. Now there's a very small thumbnail, and then all I have to do is bring it back over here, and because I have in the program to tell it with a -50.jpg, so it's now, when I open it, it's a picture that small at 100%, and it makes a nice clear picture of it. So that's what I use when I'm working on websites, for instance, or if I'm trying to move a picture from one place to another. I just drop it. I drag it into my Quick Image Resizer. I think it was about a $40 program at the time. Maybe it was $30. I'm not sure what it is now. I need to put a link to that, to the program, but it's called DZ Soft Quick Image Resizer. I've had it for years and years. Since 2007 is when I first bought it. And so I've been using it for 11 years, and I keep updating it, and the updates have been free. And so that's how I can change to any size picture that I want and then able to use it. Or if I'm sending something to you and your email won't accept anything larger than say a megabyte picture, or in some cases 5 megabytes, and this is a 7 megabyte picture to begin with, I can make it where it's still a nice clear picture for you, and reduce it, and then send you the reduced picture. And so this program tells you how you can do it manually, and then they talk about some third-party programs and how to do it. But I basically showed you how to do it. So let's see what else. How to use Windows. There is a Windows hidden video editor. Let me touch base with that. I'm not going to get to the last one, but I might be able to talk about it for a second. But how to use the Windows 10 hidden video editor. A lot of people don't know that there is a video editor in Windows 10, but it's kind of hidden. And how to edit a video file, open it in the Photos apps, and then you can, so what we want to do is find a video. Wait a minute, let's see what else we have to do with it. And we can play it in the Photos app, and we can edit, and then we have to go and edit and create. So let's find a video. This PC. And videos, and thought I had chosen one, and I can't remember which one I chose. So where did I put it? Did I put it? I can't remember where I put one. I know I had one, but let's, just before I do that, let's open another instance of this. Go to Data, Documents. You'll notice that I have everything in subfolders and then subfolders and so on to make it easier for me to find things. And so I want to go to CFCS Windows SIG Virtual, go to today's, and did I drop it in there, I hope? MP3, no I didn't. Okay, so we'll just try to take a video. Again, go back to here, here, captures. I'm just looking for a quick video to use and without divulging too many things that I don't want to divulge. Digital SIG recordings. No, those are SIG recordings. Not what I want. Looking for something small and easy. Well, video downloads. Let's see what I got in here. No. Nuts. I was looking for a small MP4 program. Anyway, you can, what you do is you find an MP4, for instance, you then open it with your Photos program, then it'll say edit and create at the top, and when you do, you'll be able to go in and add little markings and do things with it and do some editing within that Photos program and then save it, and it will save it in the video. And I tried some of these things and it worked. I was hoping to demonstrate, but I didn't put a small video aside, and I don't want to just open a big one. It could take a while to do. But it's a good article to read, and I do suggest you take a look at it. And video, the best free video editing. There's some free editing programs out there, and there's 5 of them listed here. Let's go ahead and plus make it bigger. GIMP is a good photo editing program, but it also is a video editing program, and it's free. Paint.net, which is now paint3d.net. Photoshop Express and Pixlr. These are photo editing, I believe. I don't think they're video editing. I thought that's what that said it was going to be.
Hewie?
Yes. Those are photo editing software, but there are some video editing ones too that are good. If I can wrap up, I will do so, and then I think we're ready to turn it back to you. Does that sound good?
That'd be fine. Our speaker is here. We're up to about 20 people, but we have to set up her computer to the projector. So
okay,
just wrap up. That'd be great.
Okay, I just want to talk about one more thing, and that is, and I did mention it. Notice that if we go to my D drive, I have all of my folders, and then let's say downloads. Normally in your downloads folder, every time you download something, it just adds it, and we'll move all the way down here. It'll just add it to a long list, and then it gets lost. So what I try to do is if I'm downloading let's say a program, let's say everything, that search everything program, if I go to everything under E, as it's downloading, it says, what do you want to say? Where do you want to save it? What do you want to call it? I always right mouse click and then say, well, when it does that, it's going to say, what do you want to call it? I right mouse click and then say new in folder, create a new folder, and then double click it inside the folder, then give it a name, and then I save it within that. So as I downloaded new versions of everything now, I put that in the same folder. And I do that with all of those. So it gives me some semblance of order. I can find a particular program. I can find all of the files. I do the updates. Let's see if I can find one that's got a lot of updates in it. IrfanView may have. Yeah, there's several versions. You can see over a couple of years where I've downloaded updates and then installed it from here. But I try to keep everything together by using folders and subfolders for the items. I do the same thing in my documents folder. I have documents for different topics. And so there's a CFCS folder, one for the Windows SIG, one for the Chromebook virtual SIG, another one for ClipMate, and so on, articles for blogs. And then I have, under that, I have all kinds of folders where I'm storing data and information. And I do that when I have a website that I'm dealing with. I'll have a folder, and then I'll have one for each year and each month and so on. So I can keep track of where things are much easier. I can find them easier. And when I can't, then I go back to the beginning of our session today, and I use the programs to do the searches for. So with that note, are there any questions from the audience before we call it quits? And I'll close all of these things, and I'm going to open this.
Okay, any questions at all for Hewie?
I don't see anything online. Thank you, everybody that's online, for joining us. And until next month, I'm going to stop the recording.